But building those positive habits is key. And now let's get into the specifics of day 7 and the power of routine. Meurisse really emphasizes the importance of consistency here.
So, like choosing a specific time and place each day
Yes,
for those important tasks.
exactly. That signals to your brain, okay, it's go time.
Yeah.
He also stresses minimizing stimulation early in the day.
So resisting the urge to check email or social media first thing in the morning, that's going to be tough.
I know it's a challenge,
Okay.
but think about it. Starting your day by reacting to other people's agendas puts you on the defensive. Tackling your most important task first sets the tone you want for the day.
I see your point. It's about being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't about becoming some kind of productivity robot. It's about creating a structure that supports your goals and helps you move forward on the things that matter most to you.
So it's about designing your environment and your habits in a way that makes it easier to do the things you truly want to do rather than constantly battling yourself.
Exactly. And here's a great action step from Maurice. Write down when you'll do your routine, what it will consist of, and get started today. No more waiting for the perfect moment.
You know what strikes me about Muris's approach is that he doesn't frame procrastination as this evil enemy to be vanquished. He actually encourages self-compassion when we slip up.
I love that about his approach. It's so important. We need to be kind to ourselves, especially when we're struggling. Remember, everyone procrastinates sometimes. It's part of being human.
It's like he's saying, okay, you procrastinated, it happens now, let's figure out why and get back on track. That's so much more helpful than the usual self-flagellation.
Absolutely. And that ties into his emphasis on a growth mindset. It's
Yeah.
not about being perfect. It's about continuous improvement. Each time we procrastinate, we have a chance to learn something about ourselves and develop new strategies.
So procrastination becomes a tool for self-discovery and growth, not a source of shame. That's a powerful reframe.
Exactly. It can provide valuable insights into our fears, priorities, and patterns. By paying attention to when and why we procrastinate, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and what we need to thrive.
Now, Maurice spends quite a bit of time on fear as a major obstacle to taking action. He even talks about mental models, those beliefs that hold us back.
Yes, and one of those common mental models is the future self.
The future self. Okay.
We imagine this future version of ourselves who will magically be more disciplined, more motivated, more capable, so we put things off thinking future me will handle it.
Oh, I know that one all too well. It's
Yeah.
like passing the buck to some imaginary superhero version of ourselves.
Exactly, and Maurice points out how illogical that is. Our future selves are created by the choices we make today. If we're not actively building those skills and habits, there's no reason to think they'll suddenly materialize.
So instead of relying on some future version of ourselves to save the day, we need to take responsibility for who we are right now.
Precisely. And he challenges another deeply ingrained mental model, the idea of surviving versus thriving.
I'm curious about that. What does he mean by surviving versus thriving?
He argues that our brains are wired for survival. They're programmed to conserve energy and avoid risks, which is essential for our ancestors. But in our modern world, that same programming can keep us stuck in a cycle of fear and inaction.
So we're letting our ancient survival instincts dictate our behavior, even though we're not facing life or death situations on a daily basis.
Exactly. And Maurice encourages us to move beyond mere survival and embrace the possibility of thriving. This means stepping outside of our comfort zones, challenging those limiting beliefs, and taking bold action towards our goals.
That's a powerful distinction. It's like we have a choice to play it safe or to step into our full potential, even if it feels a bit scary.
Exactly. And Maurice emphasizes that thriving requires us to make conscious choices to override that old programming and act in alignment with our values and aspirations.
So it's about recognizing when that survival mode kicks in and choosing to act from a place of courage and possibility.
Precisely. And speaking of taking bold action, Maurice has this fantastic suggestion to do something impossible to challenge our beliefs and build confidence.
Impossible. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What does he mean by that?
He's not talking about literally impossible things, but things we perceive as impossible for ourselves. Things that scare us, that make us feel inadequate, that seem out of reach.
So things that we assume are beyond our capabilities, but might actually be within our grasp if we could just overcome those mental barriers.
Exactly. He gives examples like approaching someone you admire, cold calling, a potential client giving a speech, or running a marathon, anything that pushes you beyond your perceived limitations.
I love that idea. It's about proving to ourselves that we're capable of more than we think.
And in doing so, we shatter those limiting beliefs and open ourselves up to a whole new world of possibilities.
You know, it's interesting how Muris connects this idea of doing the impossible to the concept of overstimulation. He argues that when we're constantly bombarded with information and distractions, it makes those challenging tasks seem even more daunting.
That's such an important connection. When our minds are in a state of overwhelm, it's hard to access that inner strength and resilience we need to tackle those bigger goals. We get stuck in a cycle of reactivity and fear rather than proactive, courageous action.
So it's about creating space for clarity and focus so we can see those challenges for what they are, not for what our fear tells us they are.
Exactly. And by minimizing distractions and prioritizing those important tasks, we create a more supportive environment for taking bold action. We give ourselves the mental and emotional space to tap into our potential.
This is reminding me of that day 7 focus, the power of routine.
Yes, absolutely. It all ties together. And Uris emphasizes the importance of consistency in building that routine. Choosing a specific time and place each day to tackle those important tasks helps prime your mind for focus.
And he's a big advocate for minimizing stimulation early in the day, right? No email, no social media, no news until after you've tackled your key task.
Exactly. That's his advice. It's about reclaiming those precious morning hours when our willpower is often strongest and our minds are freshest.
So it's about setting yourself up for success by creating a structure that supports your goals and protects your focus.
Precisely. And remember, it's not about becoming some kind of productivity machine. It's about finding what works for you and creating a routine that feels sustainable and empowering.
So less about rigid rules and more about mindful intention.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your day and your attention so you can make progress on the things that truly matter to you. Not the urgent but unimportant tasks that tend to hijack our time and energy.
I love that reframe. It's about being intentional with our energy and aligning our actions with our values.
And Meurisse encourages us to start small, to build consistency over time, rather than trying to overhaul our entire lives overnight.
So progress, not perfection, small steps consistently applied can lead to big changes.
Exactly. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when you slip up, when you procrastinate, when you feel overwhelmed. But the key is to approach those moments with self-compassion and get back on track as quickly as possible.
It's not about beating ourselves up for our mistakes, but about learning from them and moving forward with renewed determination.
Precisely. And Meurisse reminds us that the more we act, the better we become with each step we take. We build confidence and resilience, making it easier to face future challenges.
So it's a positive feedback loop. The more we act, the more confident we become, and the more likely we are to continue taking action.
Exactly. And that's how we break free from the cycle of procrastination and unlock our true potential. It's not about waiting for motivation or inspiration. It's about making a conscious choice to act, to take control of our lives and create the future we desire.
And it's about remembering that we don't have to do it alone. Meurisse encourages us to seek support from others who have faced similar challenges.
That's such a crucial point. Having a community of like-minded individuals can provide encouragement, accountability, and a sense of belonging. It's about sharing our struggles, celebrating our successes, and supporting each other on this journey of personal growth.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders on the sidelines reminding us that we're not alone in this.
Exactly. And Meurisse also encourages us to be patient with ourselves.
Wow.
He reminds us that change takes time and effort.
Yeah.
We didn't develop our procrastination habits overnight, and we're not going to break them overnight either.
So it's about consistency, persistence, and a belief in our own ability to change.
It's a journey, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And with consistent effort and the right strategies, we can definitely rewrite those procrastination scripts.
Speaking of rewriting scripts, one thing that stood out to me as we were unpacking Maurisse's 7-day plan is the power of reframing.
Yes.
Whether it's seeing procrastination as a signal from our brain
Right.
rather than a character flaw,
Right.
or viewing discipline as alignment with reality
Yes.
rather than self-punishment, shifting our perspective
Yeah.
can be incredibly empowering.
Couldn't agree more. It's like those optical illusions
Uh-huh.
where you can see two different images depending on how you look at them.
Right.
Procrastination can feel like an insurmountable obstacle
Yeah.
or a valuable opportunity for self-discovery depending on the lens we choose.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So the next time you catch yourself procrastinating, instead of beating yourself up, maybe ask yourself, what's this telling me? What can I learn from this?
Exactly. Turn a moment of frustration into a moment of curiosity and growth.
Yeah.
Maybe that task is signaling that it needs to be broken down into smaller steps,
Okay.
or that your why isn't strong enough,
Right.
or that you need to create a more distraction-free environment.
It's like procrastination is a messenger trying to get our attention.
Mhm.
It's up to us to decipher the message.
That's a great way to put it. And
Sure.
remember, as Meurisse emphasizes, self-compassion is key throughout this process.
Right.
It's not about letting ourselves off the hook,
Yeah.
but about creating a more supportive inner dialogue that encourages growth rather than self-sabotage.
So instead of that harsh inner critic,
Yeah.
we can cultivate an inner coach who says, hey, I see you're struggling. What can we learn from this? How can we do better next time?
Exactly. And I think that ties in with what you're saying earlier about procrastination,
Mhm.
often stemming from a disconnect between our idealized selves and our actual selves.
Yes, we have these visions of being like the super productive, always motivated version of ourselves.
Right.
But then reality hits and we inevitably fall short.
Yeah.
And that gap between our ideal and our reality can lead to self-criticism, discouragement, and you guessed it, more procrastination.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But what if, instead of berating ourselves for not being perfect, we focused on bridging that gap,
Okay.
accepting our imperfections while still striving for growth?
It's about showing up as our best selves today, even if that means taking small, imperfect steps forward.
Exactly. Progress over perfection. And that brings us back to Meurisse's overall message,
Okay.
aligning with reality,
Right.
accepting ourselves as we are with all our flaws and quirks,
Yeah.
while also committing to continuous improvement.
It's about being kind to ourselves while also holding ourselves accountable. And I think that's a beautiful way to frame this whole journey of overcoming procrastination. It's not about becoming someone we're not. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves one step at a time.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that procrastination is not the enemy.
Mm.
It's a teacher, a guide,
Mhm.
a signpost, pointing us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and our potential.
And for those of you who want to dive deeper into Meurisse's 7-day plan and all the practical strategies he offers, we'll include a link to his book, Immediate Action, in the show notes.
Definitely check it out. You'll find exercises, worksheets, and even more insights to support you on this journey.
Now, before we sign off, I like to leave our listeners with something to ponder, something that wasn't explicitly covered in our deep dive, but kind of builds on what we discussed.
I always love this part. What thought-provoking question do you have for us today?
Well, we've talked a lot about procrastination as like an individual struggle,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering about the role of societal influences.
Okay.
Could it be that like our always-on hyperproductive culture actually encourages procrastination?
That's such an interesting question. We're constantly bombarded with messages about doing more,
Right?
achieving more,
Right.
being more.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like we're never doing enough.
Right.
And when we inevitably fall short of those unrealistic expectations,
Yeah.
we can end up feeling overwhelmed and discouraged.
Exactly. And those feelings of overwhelm and discouragement can lead to, you guessed it, more procrastination.
Yeah,
Like a vicious cycle.
it is.
We're set up to fail by these impossible standards.
You're right.
And then we blame ourselves when we don't measure up.
So perhaps part of the solution lies in challenging those societal norms and redefining what success truly means to us.
Okay.
Maybe it's not about endless productivity and achievement,
Right.
but about finding a sustainable rhythm that allows us to thrive both personally and professionally.
It's about finding that balance between pursuing our goals
Yes.
and nurturing our well-being.
Absolutely.
And maybe, just maybe, by creating a more compassionate and supportive culture, we can reduce the pressure that leads to procrastination in the first place.
No, that's a powerful thought to leave with our listeners.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual change, but about creating a collective shift toward a more balanced and sustainable way of living.
So there you have it, folks, a deep dive into the world of procrastination. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to take action. Remember, you're not alone in this. Be kind to yourself, embrace the journey, and never give up on your dreams. And with that, we'll bring this deep dive to a close. Until next time, happy diving.